Did life begin on Mars before Earth? Did life start in the valleys of Mars before it ever began on Earth? The life that we see flourishing on Earth today once migrated here from Mars in the past. And these are not just a few random questions. Rather, for scientists engaged in the search for astronomy and extraterrestrial life, these are questions of life and death. For many centuries, ever since humans became aware of space and other planets, scientists have been researching these subjects. Science is the name of that bird which tells us about the reasons behind any event and explains the effects that follow. Holding on to the path of science, just a few decades ago, Sir Isaac Newton presented to the world the theory of gravity, which explains how objects revolve around the sun. The planets were revolving, so we were already aware of the existence of these planets, but this time we were able to see them with our own eyes. By the 20th century, humans' desire to know about the world beyond the clouds became even stronger. And we moved beyond the subjects of stars and planets to talk about topics like aliens and exoplanets. Of course, all of this was quite strange and new at that time. No one really understood much about it, and how could they? After all, at that time, all these things were just the result of some imaginations and the human mind. But today, when we have this modern technology, today when we know very well that in this infinite universe, life obviously cannot be limited only to Earth. In any case, life could exist on many other planets and moons besides Earth. In such a situation, our eyes often turn towards Mars, the fourth planet of the solar system. Apart from Mars, which other planet in the solar system can provide a suitable and challenging environment for life to breathe? But today, as we look at Martian life, we are going to give you a completely different perspective, one that suggests that long ago in the past, life was displaced from Mars and came here to Earth. The fourth planet of the solar system, which appears bright red, whose atmosphere is extremely cold and freezing, can it really help support life? The search for the answer to this very question has compelled scientists over the past 5 decades to look deep inside this planet. Till today, we have not been able to reach there. In the days of the past, our solar system, on the other hand, certain coincidences occurred on Earth that led to the creation of suitable conditions for the origin of life here. This was a very strange era, where on one hand, life was standing at the brink of extinction, while on the other hand, on another planet, life was on the verge of being born. Thanks to the research conducted on Mars over the past 5 decades, we have now reached the conclusion that millions of years ago, life definitely existed on the surface of Mars. Just like present-day Earth, there used to be rivers flowing there with liquid water which could protect Mars from the harmful UV rays coming from the sun. Along with that, there was also an active greenhouse effect present on Mars, which allowed the surface of Mars to maintain its warmth on its own. During that era, the average temperature on Mars used to be between 12 to 13 degrees Celsius, which has now changed to freezing negative temperatures. Even though today we can't even imagine life on the surface of Mars in history, this was actually a reality. Our studies and research so far explain the end of life on Mars. The most logical among them is the solar photon's infiltration theory. According to this, about 4 billion years ago, when the solar system was only a few tens of millions of years old, one day, deadly radiation from the sun and UV photon plasma, these charged particles, collided with Mars's outer atmosphere, that is, its atmosphere, and as a result, they penetrated deep inside it. After that, the atmosphere started to release and escape into space, which caused an immense change in the temperature of the entire planet. There is a strong chance that during this period, all life on the surface that depended on heat and liquid water died out. According to our understanding, life first originated in the rivers and lakes that once flowed on ancient Mars. Just like about 3.7 billion years ago, the earliest life forms originated here on Earth. If we look at the timeline of life on Mars and Earth side by side, we will find that in reality, the origin of life on Earth happened when life on Mars was almost on the verge of extinction. Coincidentally, or due to some specific reason, the timing of the birth and extinction of life on both these planets is almost the same. The sequential occurrence of these two events in an order cannot be just a coincidence. When scientists kept this idea in mind and continued their research, they stationed themselves on the surface of Mars. With the help of the Curiosity rover, they found organic molecules in a 3 billion-year-old rock, which was a sedimentary rock. Even before this, Curiosity had detected traces of methane on Mars. Scientists have turned the suspicion of life on Mars into a certainty. Especially Gale Crater on Mars is the place where continuous evidence of ancient life and rivers and lakes that once flowed on Mars has been found. When Curiosity and other Mars rovers studied the soil samples, many revelations came to light. From this, scientists found out that the Martian soil contains organic compounds like thiophene, benzene, toluene, and some small carbon chains such as propene and butene. Additionally, it is also noteworthy that the places where these organic compounds were found also contain sulfur in the nearby soil. This indicates that billions of years ago, there were cellular organisms similar to humans living here. They shared a biological structure similar to ours. This is truly amazing. But along with this, the question also arises whether these life forms migrated from there to Earth, and from them, we humans were also born. This matches somewhat with the story we told you at the beginning of this video. It sounds quite strange and shocking to hear that microbial life forms traveled from Mars and reached Earth. I mean, how is that even possible for life to travel all the way from Mars, covering such vast distances in space, and then arrive here on Earth? That is, just the thought of surviving after reaching their new home is astonishing in itself. In fact, scientists still don't have any logical answer to this question. All we have are hypotheses that try to explain this, some of which suggest that from Mars, divine beings called Anunnaki came here to Earth. They gave birth to their offspring, who later emerged as humans and claimed the entire Earth as their own. And this is how humans were created. So, this theory seems to be nothing more than a fictional story by a writer, while on the other hand, there is the meteorite theory. According to this, the meteorites coming to Earth from Mars contained water and other minerals as well as microbial forms of life. Whenever meteorites pierced through Earth's atmosphere and fell on its surface, within a few hundred years, they mixed with the soil here. As a result, the form of life that they were carrying within themselves began to emerge on Earth's surface, and after that, those organic compounds initiated life on Earth. Here, by coincidence, such an environment was created that life flourished, and that's why we see Earth in this form today. Friends, recently I watched a movie called 2067, which showed what happened because of human actions. The last plant also dies one day, and now there is nothing left on Earth that can be called a tree or plant. The whole world is buying oxygen to survive, and some companies are making artificial oxygen and earning a good profit from it. So to me, this plot doesn't really seem like it's about Earth. Instead, it feels more like it's about a Martian colony. Just imagine that you are a part of that Martian colony. There, you'll need oxygen to live your whole life, and you won't get that oxygen for free. That means to live in Martian colonies, you'll have to pay for every single breath you take there. Knowing all this, there might hardly be anyone who would want to go to Mars. But if it comes to staying alive, humans can do anything. It's possible that to survive a major disaster on Earth, we might have to migrate to Mars. So, in such a situation, how will so many people breathe on Mars? We all know that if anyone, even by mistake, tries to breathe in the Martian atmosphere without the oxygen supply from a spacesuit, then the result will be immediate fatality, meaning instant death. He will die right there. Because the atmospheric pressure on Mars is very low, and in such conditions, the blood of any astronaut would start to boil. The eyes will pop out, and it will be a painful end. So will we ever be able to breathe in the atmosphere of Mars? In today's video, we are going to introduce you to the biggest challenge in Mars's future. So first of all, we need to understand Mars and its atmosphere. We call Mars the red planet, while our Earth appears blue from space. But there is another big difference between these two planets. Yes, there is life here on Earth. There are people who can feel the air. Children playing in the soil, from kids to elders getting drenched in the rain, and a unity of animals and plants. Yes, both planets have their own atmosphere. It's a different matter that Mars's atmosphere is thousands of times thinner compared to Earth's. Because of the atmosphere, water exists here on Earth, while the water on Mars has disappeared somewhere. But here we are talking about breathing in the atmosphere. So what is it on Earth that allows us to breathe here without any difficulty? So the answer is that Earth has 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 1% argon, and 0.04% carbon dioxide. Apart from this, traces of some other gases can also be found here in small amounts. On the other hand, the atmosphere of Mars mainly has 95% carbon dioxide, 3% nitrogen, and 1.6% argon. There are also traces of oxygen, carbon monoxide, water, methane, and some other gases found in the atmosphere. Strong winds blow on Mars, and there are very large dust storms. Sometimes these storms are so massive that they engulf the entire planet. But this dust becomes our biggest problem. Because gravity on Mars is lower than on Earth, dust particles remain suspended in the atmosphere for a much longer time. These can become a danger by getting into our machines and our lungs. In such a situation, the air on Mars is definitely not suitable for breathing. But that's not our main problem here. We can filter out the dust particles in any way. The main problem is something else. The lack of oxygen on Mars is a big issue. We can't survive without oxygen, and it's not possible for us to keep supplying oxygen to Mars from Earth continuously. This is neither a practical solution nor an economical one. On Earth, oxygen is abundant, making up about 21% of the total atmospheric gases, but on Mars, it's barely 0.13%. This is a huge gap, and filling this gap has become a major challenge for our scientists. Here, different scientists have different opinions, and everyone has their own ideas about how to tackle this challenge. Some scientists and engineers, they are coming up with big creative ideas, like building large biomes on Mars to mimic Earth's atmosphere, so that we can extract oxygen and make Mars more habitable. Although this idea sounds very creative and good, implementing it in reality is extremely difficult. So will people living on Mars in the future be able to breathe in the open air? Let's first learn about some of the ways to do this. There can be many ways to do this, such as ISRU, which means in situ resource utilization. That means using the resources available there. It means surviving by using the resources of the local areas at the mission destination instead of bringing supplies from Earth. For this first, we need to collect carbon dioxide-rich air from the Martian atmosphere. We have already made devices for this task. The next step in the process will be to send this collected air into a reactor where a chemical transformation will take place inside the reactor. Oxygen molecules will be separated from carbon dioxide. After that, the extracted oxygen will be stored in separate tanks. From this reservoir, oxygen will be supplied to all the Martian colonies. And in this way, Martian habitats will fulfill their oxygen needs. This will not only provide oxygen to the Martian colonies, but it will also eliminate the hassle of carrying oxygen from Earth. But everyone will have to pay the price for the challenges and dangers that come with it. The cost of maintaining and protecting the oxygen reservoirs will have to be borne by the people living there. And that's why Martians will have to pay the price for every single breath. But the advantage is that this will make Martian colonies more sustainable. Their dependence on Earth will decrease. Besides this, the water ice present at the poles of Mars can also be used to produce oxygen. The process of extracting oxygen from water molecules is called electrolysis, and on Earth we do this process quite efficiently, but on Mars we will have to do this process on a much larger scale. First of all, we will have to build bases at the Martian poles, either by drilling or by mining there. Water ice will be extracted first, then that ice will be placed in a device called an electrolyzer. An electric current will be applied to it. The electric current will completely separate the oxygen and hydrogen molecules in the water. There are two major benefits of this process. First, we will get pure oxygen, which we can send to Martian colonies. And the second benefit is that we will get pure hydrogen. We can store it, and it can also be used as fuel. This will solve our two biggest problems. First, oxygen, and second, fuel. So these were the different ways to artificially produce oxygen. But we know that there is also a natural way to convert carbon dioxide into oxygen, and that is through trees and plants. Yes, trees and plants use carbon dioxide and sunlight to produce oxygen and glucose, and this process is called photosynthesis. But for this, we will have to create an ecosystem on Mars where trees and plants will be planted in the initial phase. But this method is not reliable. On Mars, dust storms block sunlight, or if due to some seasonal changes we don't get sunlight there, or because of some disease. If the plants get damaged, the entire Martian colony will be at risk. This can be used along with other methods. Our ecosystem on Mars will be completely closed, and if there is any leakage from anywhere, it can become a huge risk. That's why the air circulation system will be designed very carefully. Besides this, special space suits will be used for outdoor activities, which will have oxygen storage tanks. There will be oxygen charging stations at the location to recharge the oxygen tanks of the spacesuits, where they can fill up the oxygen. It may look like something out of a sci-fi movie, but here, not everyone can roam around carelessly. Maybe you Even going there is a distant dream for us. Well, friends, interplanetary travel and space exploration are nothing new for humans. From the day we, that is, humankind, became aware, our eyes have been gazing at these planets and stars in space. In such a situation, this effort of ours could bring an end to this entire era and mark the beginning of a new age. If we talk about Starship, it's not just a rocket or a spaceship, but you can consider it a moving jumbo spacecraft. This spacecraft has all the facilities for 900 astronauts to live, eat, and survive. Just imagine a 9-month-long journey from Earth to Mars with a crew of 100 passengers. How thrilling that would be. During this time, there will be many challenges along the way. You will witness this great grand spaceship. Let me give you a tour. Starship is not just a spacecraft. It is a symbol of our hopes, our ambitions, and our courage. This spacecraft will take us toward unknown worlds, to places where no human has set foot today. Well, Starship is equipped with those 34 Raptor engines that are capable of pushing us straight from the Earth's surface into space. Therefore, for its launch, SpaceX's Falcon Heavy will lift off from Earth when Mars comes closest to Earth. In other words, when it will take the least amount of time to get there, but even this shortest journey is going to be at least 395 million kilometers for us. It will take us at least 6 months to cover that distance. Now you might be wondering what challenges will arise. Well, Elon Musk and the SpaceX team are especially focused on making sure that during this long space journey, the astronauts aboard the Starship never get bored. This Starship is nothing like an ordinary rocket or space shuttle. Instead, there will be viewing galleries to offer beautiful sights. These views will truly be amazing, which our Martians will be able to enjoy while sitting at their dining table. For food, this Starship will have its own autonomous farm or kitchen where fresh vegetables can be both grown and prepared. You can lie down very easily. Apart from this, they have the common amenities that you would find in a 5-star hotel on Earth. Well, this Starship is not just known for these things, but it's also in the news a lot for another reason, and that is the structure of this Starship, which is much stronger than the commonly used carbon fiber and aluminum alloy and costs less than half as much as they do. That means both strength and affordability. Well, behind this is Elon Musk's vision, and that thought is to make space travel affordable. Now, of course, it won't become as affordable as something in the market, but it will definitely come within the budget of the top 5% of the world's richest people. In this regard, the use of reusable rockets and affordable yet durable space programs have always been SpaceX's hallmark. Now, before we move ahead in the journey, let's find out which modules make up the Starship. This is SpaceX's iconic Starship, which is currently in a horizontal position. If we look at its cross-sectional view, it has 2 large methane and oxygen tanks and 2 smaller oxygen and methane tanks, which will be used for a soft landing on Mars. During landing, since the large tanks will be empty, these smaller tanks will help maintain a horizontal position. You're looking at the spacecraft service section where the astronauts will stay. Also, in the lower part, there is a service module which will contain all the necessary equipment, supplies, and machines required for colonizing Mars and setting up a base there. Anyway, now you are well acquainted with this Starship and its composition. Now let's begin our journey for which this gigantic spacecraft has been built. And along with that, we have also taken up the responsibility to sow the seeds of humanity there. The sparkle in these astronauts' eyes, their confidence, and their determination fill us with pride. They know that this journey is not just theirs, but of all humanity. All those astronauts have boarded this lift and have been sent to the service module of this Starship. All the necessary checks and inspections have also been performed before the launch. And only after passing every aspect, the launch countdown has begun, and that long-awaited moment has finally arrived for this spacecraft. The moment we've all been waiting for. This countdown isn't just counting time, it's the beginning of the flight of our dreams. With a loud roar and shaking the ground, this Starship heads towards the sky, leaving behind a trail of smoke and many questions. Those questions will only be answered when this spacecraft lands on Mars. Today, we have taken a step forward, but this is just the beginning of countless miles ahead. In this endless journey of space, our hopes, in our voyage where there are no boundaries, there are only infinite possibilities. This is the Starship mission of our future, the flight of our future. Moving forward on this long journey is truly exciting. So along with this excitement, many dangers and risks are also waiting for us. Who knows, tracking this calm and enjoyable journey might be an extremely difficult task. Should we go? All objects in the spacecraft's path are tracked, and onboard computers constantly scan for nearby objects and obstacles to keep the journey safe. And when needed, the onboard computers fire the engines to perform maneuvers so it can continue past nearby objects. Anyway, hopefully, all the systems installed in this spacecraft will work properly. Because of them, everything will go according to plan and no problems will arise. And even if any problem arises, our warriors will be fully prepared to handle it. During this time, this spacecraft will remain constantly connected to the mission control room on Earth. For this, NASA's Deep Space Network will be used, which is a serial connection of satellites that helps maintain far-off connectivity in deep space. And from here, the next 180 days of this journey will pass in complete peace and comfort. And finally, after a very long and difficult journey, when this starship gets close to Mars, a red shadow will be visible from afar through these galleries and will keep getting closer. And finally, that moment will arrive. The moment of truth will come for the 100 passengers in these galleries. That moment when all their dreams, all their ambitions will seem to turn into reality. Yes, this is the final stage of the Starship's journey when it will land grandly on Mars. It is brought close to the landing site. During this time, the spacecraft is surrounded by flames due to intense pressure and friction from the atmosphere. But unlike other spacecraft, parachutes will not be used to reduce its speed. Its Raptor engines will produce downward thrust to reduce its speed so much that it will become almost negligible, and after that, it will touch down softly on the landing pad. And that's how this journey will come to an end. Mars has always been a subject of exploration for humans. The bright red color of this red sphere used to scare us, but its mysterious appearance inspired us to uncover the secrets buried within it. That's why we've had our eyes set on Mars for many centuries. Mars has also given us many moments in the past when we experienced both wonder and curiosity at the same time. Today, humans see Mars as their future. Life struggling to survive on Earth sees its next destination on Mars. In such a situation, it is very important to know how humans will actually settle on Mars. After all, how will we humans populate this barren land and establish our settlements here? Well, stay tuned to get familiar with these futuristic concepts of terraforming and colonization. In this video, by the very end, Mars is going to become the destination of our dreams, the reality of tomorrow. So then, why don't we take a closer look at the barren Mars of today? This planet, located about 140 million miles from Earth, is the fourth planet from the Sun. It's a transitional planet because after this, the gas planets begin. Mars is a solid planet. Its surface is mostly made of iron, nickel, and sulfur, which is why its color is deep red. However, the temperature of its surface is quite low, despite its color. The average surface temperature of Mars remains minus 63 degrees Celsius, and in the polar regions, this temperature drops to as low as minus 140 degrees Celsius. There are also ice caps of frozen water and gases present at its poles. Speaking of its atmosphere, Mars is a planet with a thin atmosphere. Its atmosphere is less than 1% as dense as Earth's, and that's why you don't feel any air pressure on its surface. the composition of Mars' atmosphere. Mostly, it is 95.3% carbon dioxide, 2.6% nitrogen, and the remaining 0.1% consists of gases like oxygen and argon. As far as the presence of water on Mars is concerned, scientists are still uncertain about this. No doubt we have not yet been able to find liquid water on the surface of this planet, but that doesn't mean there is no water on Mars at all. For several decades, our research on Mars has proven that Mars could actually be a potential candidate to host life. At one time, all those conditions must have existed here that provided a favorable environment for life to thrive and flourish, whether it was the flowing water on its surface or the oxygen present in the air here. The form of life that we see on Earth today might have existed on Mars at one time as well. All those conditions, all those factors that provide a favorable environment for life to breathe might have already existed on Mars in the past. But over time, something changed here, something that completely destroyed the biological system of this planet. It wiped out living things here and dried up the rivers flowing on the surface, turning them into barren valleys. Scientists believe that we can once again make the atmosphere of Mars habitable. The life that perished here, we can revive it once again, and to do that, we will have to go through a long and extensive process. In this process, from increasing the temperature on Mars to rebuilding its atmosphere, all major changes will have to be brought about artificially. Of course, this will not be easy for us at all. To do this, we will need an enormous amount of money, resources, and technology, and perhaps even more than that. We will need a visionary person who is interested in making this dream come true, and maybe that person already exists. Yes, we are talking about SpaceX founder Elon Musk, who has made a plan to transfer humans from Earth to Mars. Of course, Musk is not alone in this race. Many other players are also working day and night to reach this milestone. But Musk and his SpaceX are far ahead of all of them in this race. SpaceX already has concrete plans to go to Mars, and they have the resources needed to send humans to Mars. They also have complete planning to settle people there. SpaceX does. Before we come to SpaceX's Martian colonization and terraforming plan, let's proceed. Let's take a look at some important details of this trip. The shortest distance between Earth and Mars is 33.9 million miles. Both Earth and Mars revolve around the Sun in an elliptical orbit, which causes the distance between them to increase and decrease. Every 2.5 years, these two planets reach their closest distance to each other. At such a time, it's a golden opportunity to send any spacecraft to Mars. This 3 to 8 day launch window gives us convenient accessibility to Mars. During this period, spacecraft launched reach Mars orbit using the least amount of time and fuel, and this journey takes about 8 months. During this period, after leaving Earth's orbit, the spacecraft will have to travel in deep space for the next 250 days. Then one day, the red planet will come into view through its window, and in the next 1.5 hours, this mission will go through its toughest phase. This is the landing sequence. SpaceX's Starship will make a vertical landing in this manner, and from here, the battle for survival begins. Actually, this fleet of starships will have a team of the first Martian settlers. These will be the first humans who will dedicate their lives to making Mars habitable for humans. It's possible that their journey to Mars will be one way. That means they may never be able to return to Earth, or they might get a chance to come back after many years. Whatever their fate may be. But here, they will be fully prepared to face the upcoming challenges. In this process, the first thing they will have to do is set up a base unit. This is the first step of Martian colonization. Under this, structures will be built here where these Martian settlers will have arrangements to live. Labs will also be available here for various scientific experiments and research. Along with this, there will be some special greenhouses in these unique shelters where farming will be done. Yes, this human civilization going to settle on Mars will have to become completely self-reliant. First, they will have to arrange their own food, and then for their daily needs, they will have to manage water. Everything will have to be done by these Martian settlers themselves. Of course, for the first few years, they will keep getting food and water supplies from Earth, but once all these things are arranged there, these supplies will also be stopped. Scientists have already started doing this. Yes, scientists have created an environment here on Earth that is similar to what we will find on Mars. In these conditions, some green chambers have been created where heat, light, and water are all in a controlled and limited environment. As a result of this experiment, scientists found very well-grown vegetables. They grew many crops like potatoes, tomatoes, carrots, wheat, and grass, and they all grew very well. That means the food situation is now sorted. As far as farming on Mars is concerned, the inspiration to accomplish this comes from the famous Hollywood movie The Martian. One of its characters, Mark Watney, made fertilizer from his own waste on Mars. Now, since Martian soil contains all the elements needed to grow crops on Mars except for nitrogen, but here is the good news, and that is human waste, that is poop, contains a lot of nitrogen. If we can somehow kill the pathogens in the Martian's waste, which is possible by exposing it to the freezing temperatures of Mars, so we will actually have a way to make organic fertilizer as well. And as for getting water here, that part is pretty simple too. Actually, the oxygen and hydrogen that we have been using as jet fuel until now will now help us make water. How? Again, here we will use simple chemistry. We know that when we infuse both hydrogen and oxygen gases together, as a result we get water, meaning H2O. So in this way, we will arrange for water in the initial phase. But when we have to do this on a large scale, where will we get so much oxygen and hydrogen gas from? Don't worry, we have a solution for this concern as well. In that case, we will go to the polar regions of Mars. There, these frozen ice caps will be melted and liquid water will be extracted from them. By the time we reach this stage of Martian habitation, we will have developed enough that we will be completely ready to launch our mega projects here. Yes, we are talking about terraforming. This is a mission under which Mars will be artificially heated up, which will help in making Mars habitable. In this process, the temperature of Mars will start to increase. As a result, this heat will remain trapped on Mars. During this time, the carbon dioxide gas present on Mars will accelerate this process even more. At the same time, work on Mars's atmosphere will also be underway. According to our knowledge, millions of years ago, when Mars lost its magnetosphere, it destroyed its atmosphere in a single blow. Today, the atmosphere of Mars is extremely thin and light. This is the reason why it is not effective in retaining the heat it receives from the sun. But when this atmosphere is completely healed, we will be able to clearly observe this phenomenon there. By the time we reach this stage, our Martian colony will have developed quite a lot. By now, we humans would have started living on Mars by establishing our own permanent settlements all over the planet. During this time, the first group of Martian settlers would have either died or, after becoming very old, returned to Earth. For now, here, the second and third generations would be working. By this time, almost all the changes we had in mind when we started our work here would have already taken place on Mars. As far as terraforming is concerned, it is possible that for the next few years it will continue like this. After heating up Mars, healing its environment, and even initiating an active water cycle on Mars, the circulation of oxygen would have also started in its suffocating atmosphere, which will give rise to an environment quite similar to Earth. However, this is an extremely long and extensive process, and it may still take several decades for it to become a reality. Until then, humans will have to live on Mars just as they did on their first day there. That means they still won't be able to roam freely on the surface of Mars. They will have to wear pressurized suits, and for oxygen, we will still have to rely on our artificial systems, making life artificial, comfortable, and convenient. The year 2029, this is what Earth looks like. Hundreds of years later, some pandemics will also try to wipe out human civilization from our Earth. That means, with each passing day, our life on Earth is heading towards a point where we will have only two options. Either we stay on this Earth and perish, or we fight against nature to save this fragile life. It's not easy to accept that Earth can't be our home forever, but it's the truth. One day, we will have to leave this Earth, and we need to start preparing for that now. Because we don't have any time at all. But leaving Earth just like that won't be easy either. Because the resources we have here won't be easily available anywhere else. So how will we be able to sustain ourselves on another planet with limited resources? Exactly how many people would we need to build a new civilization? And suppose we build a colony beyond Earth, what problems would human civilization have to face there? All of that over there. So far from home, how will we survive without any support? The answers to all these questions are in our video today. So hello friends, I am your friend Shashi, and today's video will take you on a journey into a future world where we are struggling to survive on Mars. Yes, Mars is the only planet near our Earth that gives us a new hope for life. This planet, orbiting the Sun just after our Earth, is quite similar to our own planet. It is the 4th planet from the Sun and the 7th largest planet in our solar system. This bright red planet, diving through the darkness of space, has always attracted humans towards it. It is said that even though today this planet is completely cold and deserted like an endless desert, but there was a time millions of years ago when rivers used to flow here just like they do on Earth. Waves of the sea used to rise and try to touch the shores, and perhaps there was life here too. Because of some mysterious circumstances, everything here was destroyed. But can we humans make everything here as it was before? By the way, it's not a bad idea, and we humans have been thinking about it for a long time. Because compared to searching for another planet outside the solar system and settling there, going to Mars would be more economical. It's also close by, and even if we don't know everything about it, we definitely know a lot. SpaceX has also claimed that they are building such interplanetary spacecraft that will be able to take at least 100 people to Mars. The owner of the company, Elon Musk, says that they are building a fleet of spacecrafts that will keep delivering resources from Earth to the inhabitants of Mars for some time. But can these fantasies actually be implemented in the real world? If we look at it, to a large extent, they cannot. Because before going to Mars or establishing a human settlement there, we will have to think deeply about many issues. There are several issues that need to be solved. For example, the intense radiation present there. How will we deal with it? We should have a plan for this before we reach there. And this will be just the beginning. It will take us decades to build a vehicle that can land properly on Mars and also return to Earth. Coming back is also important because no one would want to get stuck in that cold red desert just for fantasies, and that too billions of kilometers away from Earth. But let's take a journey today. So how will things work there? Let's find out. Recently, a thought experiment published a study whose topic was the minimum number of people required to settle on other planets. Jean-Marc Salotti published this study on June 16, 2020 in the Salotti Scientific Reports journal. In this, they tried to find out how people would work there. And how much time will all of this take? And most importantly, how many people will we need to sustain ourselves there? So let's try to find the answers to all of this based on this study. Now imagine that you have arrived in a wonderful future. Well, it's not like that at all. There will definitely be wars fought by artificial intelligence and US humans. Apart from that, there will be many natural catastrophic events that will disrupt life on Earth. We will only have options left. Forget about supplies, either settling on Mars or some other planet, and unfortunately, if that happens, coming back to Earth. Somehow, we will have to manage everything there on our own, and in such circumstances, we'll also face other problems. For example, we don't know how well the people in the colony will be able to work together with each other, what effect the conditions there will have on their mental state. Are humans really experts at ruining their own things, whether it's because of greed or hunger for power? That's why we need to focus on organizational issues before going to Mars. What equipment we will need there. How to manage resources there. We won't get them, we won't have decades to prepare, nor will we have a large amount of initial resources and equipment. And the human factor is so unpredictable that you can't plan it step by step. People react differently according to situations, and their behavior keeps changing as well. That's why if we go to another planet and try to settle there, our chances of survival are very low. But if we want to save human civilization, then somehow we will have to survive. And in this case, Jean-Marc has explained some things very well, which will have a deep impact on our survival. However, this is just the mathematics of settling on Mars, so how many resources will be available for us there, like water, oxygen, and other useful chemical elements? These resources should be easily available on that planet and should also be easy to use. And here, our biggest stroke of luck is that we won't have to start this work from scratch. We already know a lot about Mars. About the conditions on Mars, which resources will be available for us there, and how we can extract and use them for agriculture and industrial production. Those who go to Mars will be lucky because Mars has them. Where are we going and what dangers are waiting for us in that unknown world? We have known this for a long time. For example, we know that from the atmosphere of Mars we can extract gases, and from the ground we can extract minerals. On Mars we have iron, glass, and even organic compounds, which are what we are going to use to start life on Mars. We will have to extract as much material as possible before our equipment and tools break down or get damaged. Keeping them in good condition will become the most important thing. The second thing will be production capacity or the pace of work. We have a list of equipment so that they can make those pieces of equipment again and also make some useful products. If that's not the case, they won't be able to survive there. Apart from that, resource sharing among the people there will also be very useful. Imagine that each settler is trying to survive on Mars separately. They all handle things like oxygen on their own. They are trying to build the entire system on their own. They are trying to produce their own separate water, oxygen, and electricity. We will have to build a large colony where every Martian works like a cog in a machine, and the people who go there can meet their own needs so the whole system keeps running. The colony shouldn't be so small that it can't meet its own needs, and it shouldn't be so But it also depends on the available resources, the weather there, and many other factors. But speaking broadly, we can also calculate this number using a mathematical function. In the article, 5 areas have been described to calculate this number: ecosystem management, energy production, industry, buildings, and human factor. For example, we will have to send experts from each area there, like those who manage the ecosystem, some who are experts in energy production, some who will handle industrial production, some people will develop infrastructure, and for the human factor, doctors, teachers for children's education, and some experts for sports and music will also be sent. Basically, whatever is necessary to run a separate world, we will have to send all of that to Mars, and according to the calculations, that number has come out. 110 people. Yes, 110 people will be needed to build a new colony on Mars so that they can always survive there. Not more, not less. The more people there are, the harder it becomes to predict the outcome. This is a rough estimate, which includes some assumptions and some uncertainties. No plan is perfect, but still, this number will be very useful for us. Now, scientists know how many people they will have to send to Mars in the first attempt. But now the question is, if in the beginning there will be a colony of 110 people on Mars, and this is what we will have at the start, then will we have to build many such colonies there? And what about the rest of the people who are just like us and will stay here on Earth? Can just a few people preserve human civilization? Will we leave millions of people behind to die? This question will definitely come to all of our minds. Anyway, it will still take decades or even hundreds of years for this to become a reality. Going to another planet, colonizing it, and terraforming it are all good ideas, but for now, the right thing is to protect our own Earth until we find a better option. Friends, what do you think about this? Be sure to tell us in the comments section. Friends, we'll meet again soon. I'll be back with another informative video like this.